With the NBA playoffs almost here, about 2 weeks away, I think there's legit like 10 teams in the NBA who have a legitimate chance to win the NBA Finals. Some have bigger chances than others, obviously. And there's also two other teams that I think, in a wild scenario, maybe they do win. But realistically, I think there's 10 teams that could win it all. I'm going to give one reason in a sentence or two why each team can win and why they would lose if they were to lose. And so, quickly, let's just go over the two teams I have that I don't count them as like true contenders, but I think, I can see a wild scenario where both of these teams could end up making it to the finals and possibly winning it with the right matchup. Those two teams are the Sixers, the 76ers, and the Clippers. The reason I would think the Clippers could win, literally, this is Kawhi's best regular season ever. We saw what he did with Toronto back in 2019. If he was to do it again, have a run like that again, and maybe get some favorable matchups in the West, let all the really good teams kind of beat each other out, I could see them doing it. And then the Sixers, I mean, we've seen Paul George. He's been playing really well after coming back from suspension. If Joel Embiid's healthy, Tyrese Maxey's having a career year, like they could make some noise in the East, in a very weak East. I'll add that. So let's go over these teams. The contenders I have are the Thunder, the Spurs, Pistons, Celtics, Knicks, Lakers, Nuggets, Cavs, Timberwolves, and Rockets. I'm going to go in order of like, I think OKC are obviously the favorites. And I'll go from like, I guess, worst record to best. So let's start off with the Houston Rockets. The reason I think they would win the NBA Finals is they are very physical and tough defensive team. Offense is obviously into question, but their defense is really good. They play fast, they play physical. They have Kevin Durant. They could, with a couple matchups or so, lucky matchups, could win the finals. I know it's a stretch. I don't think they're going to win, but I feel like I had to put them on here. Also, I kind of just wanted 10 teams, so I had to put them there. The reason they would lose, I have them as, I put down point guard. They don't have a point guard. They have Reed Shepherd. He comes off the bench. I think he started a couple of games recently. Let me know if you're a Rockets fan. Let me know if that's correct. But, they really are missing Fred VanVleet. Even Steven Adams, but mainly Fred VanVleet. They just need someone to help their offense in the, just get things in motion, facilitate, set up the offense, and they just don't have that. Next, I'm going to go over the Minnesota Timberwolves. The reason they can win, I put down 3 times in a row, question mark. They've made it to the conference finals 2 times now. And they haven't been really competitive, I'm not going to lie, in either of those conference finals, but who's to say that they can't do it again? And who's to say that this isn't the time they win? That's legit the reason why. Because I think they could use a better second star than Julius Randle. I think Anthony Edwards is good, but I think he needs more help. I think their team could be a little better. But they've already done it twice in a row. If they make it a third time, then you have a chance, right? Like you have a shot of just winning one series against a really good team in the West and you're in the finals. So that's why I have the reason that they can win. The reason that they most likely will lose, they're in the West. That's what I put down. Like, if they were in the East, this would be much different. I would probably have them as one of the favorites in the East, honestly. Next to, like, the Boston and the Detroit. Maybe the Knicks, too. But because they're in the West, because you have the Spurs, the Thunder, the Nuggets, Lakers, it's going to be tough. And that's more than likely the reason that they'll lose. They're just going to come across a better team than them. Next, I have the Cleveland Cavaliers. This one's interesting. For the reason that I think they could win the finals and for the reason that they most likely won't win the finals or make it to the finals for that matter or get eliminated from the playoffs is the same answer. I put down James Harden for both of them. I was talking about this with my brother the other day. If you look at James Harden's Game 7 stats in playoffs, it's not good at all. They made the trade for him for Darius Garland. I think that was the right move. And this is where it's like a two sides. What's the saying? Like double-edged sword. That's what I'm trying to say. James Harden, if he didn't have a history of bad Game 7s, and he was actually a good playoff performer, I legit think I would have them as the favorite in the East because I don't think there's a better 1-2 punch than Donovan Mitchell and James Harden. Detroit, as good as Jalen Duren is, he's not like a option. Like he can't run an offense like Cade Cunningham can. Boston, because Tatum's not fully back yet, I would have them above them. And the Knicks, Cat's good, but again, in the playoffs, I just haven't seen it from him yet. But for the same reason that Harden and Mitchell could be like really good, realistically, they're probably not. Harden has not had a good track record, like I said, with Game 7s. So if they can avoid Game 7, I mean, very possibly. Maybe they do win. Maybe they make it to the finals, but I don't think they'll probably make it. Denver, the reason they can win, Joker. I mean, they have one of the best 3 players in the world. You always have a chance when you have a player of that caliber. And the reason they'll lose, I put defense / in the West. So their defense is not great. They've also not been good in the clutch this year. I really don't think that's necessarily an issue. They're really good in the clutch last year, so I'm not too worried about that. I do think that because they're in the West, there are better teams, more complete teams. That will probably be the reason they lose or get eliminated from the playoffs. But when you have one of the best 3 players in the world, you always have a chance. The Lakers, I have the reason they can win, offense. The reason they'll get eliminated or lose, defense. It's pretty straightforward for these Lakers. When Austin Reeves, LeBron James, and Luka Doncic are cooking, which they have been in March, like their offense is really good, obviously. The problem comes defensively. Luka is a liability. Austin Reeves, not great. LeBron at his age, not that good either. And I think, pair that all together, when the only really good defender you have on the team is Marcus Smart, maybe Jake LaRavia, I think in the West especially, Luka is like the big gaping hole on defense, right? Teams can hunt that. And when you have a team like the Rockets who have Amen Thompson, who's a good scorer, but Luka can sag back and the defense can kind of play to like just having him drive because he can't shoot. I think they'll be fine. But with teams like the Nuggets with Jamal Murray, with the Spurs, De'Aaron Fox, and Stephon Castle, with the Thunder, SGA, Jalen Williams, when you have these guards who are really scoring threats, and how smart and concise and precise it is in the playoffs, teams are going to hunt that matchup because Luka is not a good defender. He's been playing better this year, I will give him that. But he's not a good defender, and teams will hunt that. And when you have teams like the Spurs, like the Nuggets, like the Thunder, who have guards who can score, it's going to be really hard for Luka. Like, who's he going to guard, right? So it's not all Luka's fault. The Lakers' defense overall is not great. Their offense is great, though. The New York Knicks, the reason they can win, no Halliburton this year. No Pascal Siakam, Dark Voodoo Magic, or whatever. I think last year the Knicks obviously would have made it if it hadn't been for the Pacers. They beat the Celtics in the second round, which was huge. Beat the Pistons in round 1. They're like, you're saying, okay, well, it's the same Celtics team, a little weaker though because Tatum's not at full health. Detroit, yeah, they have another season and the best record this year, but you beat them last year. And this time, there's no Halliburton to get in our way. So realistically, it makes sense. In a wide open East, but for the reason that they won't win, I have bad feeling. I don't like the Knicks on paper give a lot of teams problems, in particular with teams that like to put their shot blockers in the paint. Cat can stretch them out. Obviously, he can shoot. They're in the East, and going into the year, I was like, okay, Detroit still very young. Boston, no Tatum. Cleveland, last year didn't feel like they were really a number 1 seed. Didn't think that they would replicate that. It felt like the next year to dominate the East, get the first seed, maybe have Jalen Brunson in serious MVP conversations, and for them to just punch their ticket to the finals. Their season starts in the finals. But that just hasn't been the case. They let the Pistons get the best record. They're actually 3rd in the East right now, behind Boston, without Tatum for the majority of the year. I just don't understand how a team this good and talented, like, why are they in this scenario, in this situation? And I just have a bad feeling about them. Realistically, they should win the East, but for some reason, I don't think it's going to happen. Boston, we have 4 teams left. Boston, I put the reason they will win, modern medicine. Like, it is such a blessing, and hopefully they didn't rush him back and that he's actually fully back, Jason Tatum. But because he's back, and we know he's not going to be back to 100% even by the time at the end of the playoffs. But if he can get back to like 50, 60, 75% of the player he was last year, like this team is already really good. And I like this iteration of the Celtics a little more than I did past couple years. With Jaylen Brown leading it, bunch of three-point shooters again. I really like this team, and if Tatum, again, if he can just be decent for his standards, they can definitely make it to the finals and win it, honestly. The reason they'll lose, I put Tatum kind of the same thing. Like, the reason they would lose is because Tatum isn't 100%. Because if Tatum was 100% with this iteration of the Celtics, like, surely they would be the favorites. I think a lot of teams or a lot of analysts and fans have the Celtics as their favorite to win because they're in the East and just they're really good, and especially since Tatum came back. But if Tatum isn't fully back and maybe there's a couple games where he doesn't have his legs under him, really struggles from the field, then that could be a problem for sure. Detroit, they're in the East. Like, that's the reason they can literally win. Like, if they were in the West, I would have the Thunder above them, the Spurs above them, I'd have the Lakers above them, the Nuggets above them, the Timberwolves above them. They would probably be over the Rockets. So the fact that they're in the East, like, helps out a lot, obviously. Their first round matchup should be easy, even though I see some people saying that if the Hornets get the 8th seed, that they're beating the Pistons, which I think is crazy. Which, by the way, I would love to see, especially after the fight they had. Like, I would love to see that matchup. A good physical defensive team in the Pistons against a fun AAU freaking offensive team in the Hornets. Like, I would love to see that. The reason they wouldn't win or they'll get eliminated from the playoffs, they just don't have a second option that I trust. Like, Jalen Duren has had a phenomenal season. He's a great young player. But, like, if Cade's having a bad night or if they're double teaming him, like, you're not going to give it to Duren and he's, like, going to be able to go off. Like, I know he can do it, but in the playoffs, I just think it's going to tighten up. His skill set doesn't match or will not elevate to the point of, like, he can score a bunch in the playoffs. At least I don't think so. Maybe he'll prove me wrong. But that's the reason I think they'll fall short this year. Just no reliable second option, at least to me. San Antonio Spurs, my favorite team. The reason they'll win it, I was stuck between putting Wemby and defense, but it's like Wemby is kind of like a big part of the defense, so I was like, I'll just put down defense. The Spurs defense is really good, especially with Wemby on the court. They're by far the best defense in the league with Wemby on the court. And when you have a good defense, you have a shot, right? Defense wins championships. There's going to be nights in the playoffs where you're struggling from three, you're struggling from the field, players having bad games, multiple players having bad games, your stars having a game or two off. But what stays is defense usually, and that's why the Spurs could definitely win it. The reason they may come up short, honestly, is just the youth. I mean, they're so young, and we really don't see it where a team never makes the playoffs, like most of the squad. So Wemby has never made the playoffs. Vassell, Castle, KJ, Carter Bryant, Dylan Harper, never seen or played in a playoff game ever. De'Aaron Fox obviously has. He had a series against the Warriors back in 2023. Harrison Barnes with the Warriors made a couple finals runs. Luke Cornett is actually a champion. Same thing with Harrison Barnes. They're just so young, and we generally don't see teams who don't make it to the playoffs, have no playoff experience, just win it all. That is honestly the only reason I can see them losing. Because even things like three-point shooting that they've struggled with in the past, like they've actually gotten really better at that because they generate so many open looks, high percentage three-point shots. So that's the only reason, sadly, I could see my Spurs coming up short this year is because we haven't been here before. And last but not least, everyone's favorite to win the finals, probably, the Thunder. The reason that they would win it is that, I mean, they've done it. They're the best team in the West, in the NBA this whole year. They won it last year. Like, there's no excuse. They have probably the MVP in SGA, the best defensive team in the league. Like, they've done it, been there, done that. They're the favorites for a reason. The reason they wouldn't win, this is interesting. I put down the Spurs and Celtics. I don't think anyone in the West, besides the Spurs, honestly can beat the Thunder. I think they'll beat the Nuggets. I think they'll beat the Lakers. I think they'll beat the Timberwolves, Rockets in a 7-game series. They're really good. I would favor the Thunder in winning a matchup against the Spurs right now because of the inexperience. But if the matchups we saw in the regular season is anything of a reflection of what we'll see in the playoffs, then obviously the Spurs can give the Thunder trouble. And I know it's different. I know last year the Celtics swept the Knicks in the regular season, but the Knicks ended up beating them in round two of the playoffs. But realistically, the Spurs are the team that could take down the Thunder in the West. And if the Thunder make it to the finals, and it is not Boston, if it is Detroit, New York, Cleveland even, they're winning. The only team that I legit think could beat them is Boston. And honestly, Boston gives the Thunder trouble. We can see it back to last year. We see it this year. The way the Celtics play and the way they play defensively, it is not a great matchup for the Thunder. I think as a NBA fan, I would love to see a Celtics Thunder finals. I feel like we kind of got robbed of that last year. Obviously, the Spurs fan in me wants the Spurs to go. But if the Celtics are waiting for the Thunder at the finals, I honestly would say that the Celtics would win that personally, just matchup wise. And if they were good enough to make it to the finals, then I know like they're on that level. So that would be the reason the Thunder would lose. Honestly, if they don't have to play the Spurs, if they don't have to play the Celtics, it's the Thunder's championship to lose. Those are my reasons for why every contender would win and why they would be eliminated from the playoffs or their season will come up short. Let me know down below if your favorite team was on this list, and let me know if you agree, disagree, any thoughts. I'd love to hear from you guys, and I'll see you on the next one.